Welcome. For those of you that don't know me, and I think everybody here does, but I'm Phil Barrett. I'm the current chairman of Thornton Le Dale Parish Council, and today, the 20th of May 2025, is our annual parish meeting. What is an annual parish meeting? Well, although it's legislated by the Local Government Act of 1972, I'll just always start this meeting off by saying it is not a parish council meeting. This meeting is a parish meeting. The focus is wholly on everybody here, representative of the parish. And to make things a little bit simpler, the Parish Council have produced a wonderful information leaflet which we've distributed amongst the seats, and hopefully it will answer all of your questions about what this meeting is about. If I can just draw your attention to paragraph 4, which I personally think is probably the most important paragraph, is will I be able to ask questions and make suggestions? Well, the answer to that is absolutely you can. This is a very informal meeting. It really is about seeking feedback from you. The agenda really just takes an informal format, as much as we'll start with apologies. But we've got Councillor Dave Green. Dave? Councillor Rebecca Heatherton. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Okay, we don't have Councillor Rebecca Heatherton, we have Mrs. Rebecca Heatherton, who's here as a resident. And sat back there is our lovely Jenny, who, if you don't know, Jenny is our parish clerk. This year, we're going to dedicate this evening wholly to the Parish Plan. Parish Plan is a significant piece of work that has been undertaken by a group of residents, and the lead on that project is Mark Calvert. So the bulk of the meeting will be listening to Mark. Then we have County Councillor Janet Sanderson with us, and then you'll have a presentation from me, the annual Parish Council report, which is the highlight of the evening, I'm sure, and then we'll finish with questions and answers. I'm just going to sign up the minutes from the last AGM. Now, without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Mark Calvert. Give him a warm welcome. Thank you very much.
Those who don't know me, my name is Mark Calvert. I've been in the village a few years now. Along with a group of other people, we've been working, I have to say, a fantastic group of people of all sorts. We've been working on the parish plan over about the past year. A little bit about me. I moved here just after COVID in 2021 with a then girlfriend, now wife. Got married at the church, had a couple of kids, got them christened here, so very much feel as part of the village. Likewise, the group of people that have been working on this parish plan are a real cross-section of society. I'm going to say young, I'm not going to go as far as say old, because that may be subjective, but some real experience of the village, including those that worked on the original parish plan back in 2008, and this plan sort of develops from the work that's already done. I'm now going to start by stating the blindingly obvious, that Thornton Le Dale is just a bloody lovely place to live. We are fortunate to live in one of those beautiful parts of the world, name-checked no less by the Times as one of the top 10 places to live. And it's certainly, we all love living here. With that in mind, the plan does not seek to fundamentally change or alter everything about the village. It's about enhancing what we have and what we love and like about the village. We're not going to go beyond all recognition. We're going to just tweak things here and there, continue with the grass cutting. The plan will be a bit nicer. When did you last see litter in the village? When did you last see a group of litter pickers going around? People just go and clean up war memorials without being asked. The village green is kept nice. The duck race was just an epitome of the community spirit. The atmosphere, the kindness, and just the general joy, even though my duck didn't win, and I'm going to call it a fix. I've spent too much money on ducks, but that's a problem that we can take out of here. You will, throughout the parish plan, hear the term parish and hear the term village. They are the one and the same thing. The parish of Thornton Le Dale includes a large part of Dalby Forest, including Low Dalby, and parts, I think, Low Marches as well. And of course, the village of Thornton Le Dale. So it's not just all about the village, but the parish as a whole. There's one word that came up time and time again, both in the survey and the discussions of the parish plan group, and that word was community. The community is the heart of all that we do. So we split the plan as it will be, into 3 areas. First of all, there is things that we're going to do, very specific things. We're going to put a dog litter bin in this location. We're going to paint the planters. Very key things. Some of the parish plan are enablers that will enable other groups to go and do things. It will support, and that's one of the last parts, it will give the community buy-in for things such as the village hall upgrades. It will give the community the buy-in and the support of the whole parish. So to talk about timelines, the group was formed back in June last year in the summer. I'm working then. You saw this survey, which happened in November and December of this year, 240 responses, and we'll go into detail of those responses shortly. To help with the plan, we split into six areas: housing and future development, community involvement, leisure and recreation, the parish environment, traffic and transport, and the parish amenities. And I'll give a quick description of what each of these mean as we come to the areas. The survey results were comprehensive and gave a whole mix of views, everything and anything in between. So it was a bit of a challenge to get a nice balance within the parish plan, but we feel like we've got there. Nearly all of this work, I say nearly all this work, will rely on volunteers, and they are the heart of what is already done. I mentioned the litter pickers, the WI. I'm not going to attempt to list the rest of the group, so I'll forget them, but there are so many doing such fantastic work. And this plan is going to be reliant upon those volunteers, both the ones we already have. Half of people in the village volunteer within the village on a sort of regular basis, and another sort of 40% volunteer outside of the parish. So in terms of giving back, we as a community are already phenomenal at it. And the plan will encourage and help new ones come along, be it once a week, once a month, or once a year. They're now jumping into the detail of the plan, starting with housing and future development. This is probably one for me, certainly the most surprising item, is because the majority of people were actually in favour of new housing developments. And there's a whole host of locations they could be. Very few in the centre, more so on the approaches to the village. But this was caveated. It was housing, smaller size housing for downsizers, retirees, young families, young people who want to come and live in the village, not, as no surprise, holiday lets and second homes. That's to say, we have about 10% of houses in the village are holiday let and second homes, which people felt was about right for a village of ours. People come to live here on holiday. You compare that to Whitby, 25% of houses are holiday lets. You compare that to Brunswick Bay, where I think it's somewhere around 90% or something ridiculous is holiday lets. It's huge. So to where we are, 10% is about right. So the village was in favour of small-scale housing developments for people to live here. The next part was community involvement, about what was happening and people getting involved. As I said before, about half of people, half of respondents, volunteered at least once a year within the parish, be that litter picking, the painting the railings, and doing everything else. Not painting the railings, that's not done, but everything else in between. However, one thing was people didn't know what was going on. There's all these groups and all these things, and people just don't know. The community choir happens every Thursday, but people don't know it's happening. So one of the key items there is a village notice board in the centre of the village, near the new inn, by the green, to share these items, as well as a new parish website to share activities and signpost people to go and work on the activities they want to work on. This leads on to leisure and recreation. Now again, the vast majority of people said there wasn't enough things for young kids 15 to 18 to do. That was near universal. The problem was, there weren't many suggestions for those people to do. However, if people want to set up a group, they're going to need volunteers. And one of the things that people mentioned is they don't know how to set up these groups and how to set up these things. So the parish plan will create that way and a sort of a guide on how to set up a new group, how to get insurance, how to book facilities, how to get advertising, so people can set up those groups. Then we move on to the parish environment, that's how it all looks. And this is going to focus on really the centre of the village green, about making that look and enhancing the village green. One of the nice ideas was they were replacing the current phone box with a heritage red phone box, painting the railings, tidying the railings up, making the area more accessible. At the moment there's only one access onto the village green, and it's making again that the centre of the community. There was a suggestion, I think it was from my wife, about bringing the stocks back in use. Let's not give the keys to it, that would be quite dangerous. Again, making the village, and the centre of the village is nice. It is a lovely place with a market cross, some interpretation boards, and making just area a nice place to sit and have the ice cream and fish and chips on a summer's evening. Well, maybe we'll do that next year. It's also worth pointing out that over 90 or 89% of the respondents thought this was a safe or very safe place to live. People felt safe and happy here. How many times have we all got to lock the door as we go out? I'm going to look around the room now and see if we can lock the door as well. But it's one of those things, it's just a nice place to live, and that's whole because it's quite nice. One of the more contentious areas now was traffic and transport, both with traffic and speeding through the village. How many people here think there's a speeding problem in the village? There's a lot of hands going up. The other is how many of us have sped through the village? How many of us can admit to doing more than 30 miles an hour? On purpose or by accident? And we don't realise we're doing it because of how slow 30 miles an hour is. So one of the things we're proposing is the radar signs which just flash up to say your speed, or you're going too fast and you get the smiley face or the unhappy face. Small things like that, just to make ourselves aware. Probably one of the most contentious issues is, of course, the pedestrian crossing in the centre of the village and what's going to happen with that. The parish plan, as it stands, is not proposing to do anything with the pedestrian crossing. What it is proposing is doing a pedestrian safety survey, looking at where people are crossing, where they want to go, and what the actual numbers are. And then we can work with North Yorkshire County Council Highways about improvements, changes and developments. And this is what I said about the parish plan not necessarily doing something, but setting up a group, looking into further detail to do something, so we get the right answer. And finally, on to parish amenities. We are blessed with a number of facilities in this parish. I came from a village in Aberford, and there was one pub, and that was it. Whereas we've got 2 pubs, 2 or 3 tea rooms, a world-class restaurant, 3 or 4 or 5 facilities for booking, including here. But people don't know how to book them, where to go, how to do it. So it's around getting more people to use those facilities that we already have. Again, that we rely on tourists. The more people that book them, the more they get used, the more we invest in them, the better they are, the more people come. So if we want these facilities, it's encouraging the locals and the visitors to use them. So in summary, we do live in a wonderful village. Again, as I said, visitors are the key. They give us what we have, and they support the village we have. Always worth remembering, people come on holiday here, and we live here. Volunteers are needed for this. Over the next 5 years, there will be a call of action to do various activities in the parish plan. The parish council don't own the parish plan, but they will be monitoring the parish plan, and there will be various calls of action. The ownership sits with us in the community, and we don't have to wait to do these things. The use examples of the planters are already being done. Contractors already working on items in the village green, so the parish plan is already being implemented. The final version is going to be issued around July, all being well, and that'll be on the parish website. You've all hopefully received on the village newsletter the past week or two, sort of the draft parish plan, and there's 31 items on here. And the parish plan will have details on how we intend to achieve all this. As I said, it's a living document. It's a guide on how we want the parish to develop, how we want to enhance the wonderful place that we live in. As I said before, it's driven by volunteers in our community. Finally, it remains to say thank you for all of the group, both past and present members who've got to where we are. Thank you to everybody who responded to the survey, and thank you to all for listening on the Parish Plan update. Thank you very much. I'm more than happy to take any questions.
I should know this, but I've forgotten. How long is the livelihood of this current parish plan?
It's from
How long does it
2025 to 2030, so it's 5 years.
Is it reviewed along the way?
Yes. It's a living document, so as I say, naturally we'll sit with the parish council and they will review it at various times, see how we're going on. But again, the hope is that people in the community will just pick it up and go, oh, I quite fancy painting the railings, doing this, setting the group for 18-year-olds, sorting out the village notice board. Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. Regarding the notice boards, which are largely empty, would it be possible to have an itinerary of what goes on in the village during the week on a chart, so anyone passing can look and see that there's yoga on a Monday morning or toddler group on a Friday morning. So it's there. It can be on the internet as well, but actually physically in the notice board on a chart.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's what I was going to say. And that detail will be in the plan with that suggestion. That's a different highlight. So how that's coordinated and managed, there'll be some detail in the plan. And again, there needs to be a volunteer to keep it updated and keep that going. But yeah, that's that.
Mark, that was really good and really interesting. Question about the traffic thing, and I living on Brook Lane, driving past people crossing in the middle, it really feels very dangerous. Is that something that traffic survey, is that something that we can get funding for someone to do, or is that something that we're going to be fundraising for, or what? Or is that a TBD?
All of the above is a life coach. The beauty of the parish plan is once you have a parish plan, it's a great force multiplier. In my previous work in various other local councils and departments, when the parish council is as strong as it wants to be, and when you have a parish plan that unites the community to say this is what they want, then North Yorkshire County Council are more likely to sit up and listen, because the parish council can go, this is what we want. One of the other items is a guide on how to report potholes. Potholes get fixed when people report them. If you just have a pothole and ignore it, the council has no idea it's there, and I'll tell you now, from my experience of doing it, they will do nothing about it if they don't know about it. If 400 people complain about that pothole, I guarantee they will get fed up of listening to those issues and they will fix it. So we as a community can have the best roads in North Yorkshire if everybody reports a pothole every week. And North Yorkshire will soon repair it. You got the list of issues.
How long does it take to get the one repaired that you keep reporting?
That's what I'm
No, anyway.
Yeah, but again, that's one person reporting a pothole. Suddenly when the whole community does it, it then forces up a list of they don't just think Derek's in the pothole request. But then with North Yorkshire County Council, if enough people say we want this survey, the funding then becomes available. And again, it has the backing of the power plan. I'm very optimistic about what the plan can achieve, because it unites the community, and the united community within the North Yorkshire County Council has power.
Is there going to be a structure for implementation of the actions from the action plan? For example, in each of the categories, there will be a plethora of suggestions and options. Is there going to be this is our first priority, this is our second priority, this is our third priority, and try to focus on specifics? And also, is there going to be a structure to try and get people involved in the actions that are going to come from that plan?
To an extent, yes, is both those questions. And also,
To an extent?
To an extent, yeah. There was a caveat, no need answer. So we're not prioritising the actions, because your priority is into my priority, and the idea is just to get me down. What it will have is a detailed breakdown of the actions that are needed to complete that. So it will be a fairly comprehensive plan in that sense. The hope then is, by making it very clear what needs to be done, is people are more likely to pick up and take on these items. And then through the parish council, there'll hopefully be a call to volunteers to do those. If there's no volunteers to do anything, the plan will fall flat and nothing will happen. It's very much reliant upon that. I see where you're coming from.
For me, it's too amorphous in terms of I like structure.
So yeah, at the moment, we are working on the detail. So hopefully, when you see the plan, you'll see that the level of detail there is quite comprehensive. It's not just, let's say, a one-page spreadsheet with action, do something, owned by the parish council. It's going to be a very detailed list of what needs to be done to see this through to completion.
One big challenge, I think, is finding those volunteers, because there is a core of volunteers in the village that do most of the work, 80% of the work.
Correct.
Probably. So I don't know whether you can work up some form of communication, like the through the door specific requests of various items, or whether just to try and promote them and get more volunteers.
Absolutely, yeah. That's going to be a challenge.
Can I ask about housing? You said there's support for small-scale housing development. There's no detail about that then, presumably?
What sort of detail?
Well, I mean, are we talking affordable housing, social housing, or what? And
So-
is there any sites been identified?
So within the parish plan we asked where would you like to see developments, housing, and mostly it was on the sort of periphery going all towards Scarborough, towards Malton and a little bit towards Pickering. There's quite a few people against infill within the village. Affordable housing, when you sort of dissect the detail, and social housing, it wasn't a push towards affordable or social housing in terms of the government definition. It's houses, the smaller size houses, therefore more affordable for people to come and move into the village. Not the 4 or 5 bedroom luxury houses, is what the survey was telling us.
Yeah, we don't want just for people who want to move into the village, do we? We want it for people who already live here, who's been brought up here and can't afford to stay here.
That's why, yeah, so downsizers, the retirees, people who want to stay in the village, that's what we said, people to live, not just to move into the village as well.
How much control do we have over that? Or anybody have over that?
We don't have any control, we have influence.
Thank you.
That's,
Subtle.
yeah. But again, the parish council can object to the parish plan, and this goes to North Yorkshire County, North Yorkshire Moors Planning Authority, and they see what the community wants. What I found with planning in the past, if the community is in support of, say, housing in the smaller development, we're more likely to get that. If we just said no housing at all, the park would ignore it in its entirety, and we'd get allocated housing regardless. You look at the way the housing is working now, the 1.5 million new homes by the Parliament. North Yorkshire had their housing target doubled in the recent changes. So there's going to have to be some local plans. But if we can influence, say this is the housing we want, North Yorkshire Moors Park are more likely to say, oh, we'll go to Thornton because there's no objections to smaller housing. So we'll get that.
Can I ask how you envisage that influence being put to bear?
Through the parish plan.
Just through the parish plan, no people signing, what do they call them? Petitions.
So that's if somebody wanted to raise a petition,
Thank you.
there's some guides. Part of the parish plan will be a guide on how to create these petitions on these support groups. So something we want to be able to do. How to contact your local MP, your local councillors. Quite easy to contact your local councillor.
The lobbying, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. Any more questions?
Thank you very much.
Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Cheers. Thank you. Well, on behalf of the Parish Council, I'd just like to publicly thank Mark and the Parish Plan Working Group who have undertaken a lot of hard work and effort over the last few months. We've got a few members of the group here, and I hope you don't mind me pointing you out, but Jeff's at the back. We've got Ian there, we have Denise and Adrian over here. There are a few members of the working group that can't be here this evening, but the work that's been involved in this parish plan over the last few months has been enormous. For me personally, it's about 3 things. It's about the parish plan being community-led, and the group did a lot of work around community engagement. They had some events up at the village hall. They've contacted local businesses and such, like the special edition of the newsletter. So it's not something that the parish plan, it's not something that the parish council have devised, because left to the parish council, we would probably just go for easy wins, and we'd probably go for cheap things as well. So the parish council have not been the driving force for this parish plan. It really is community-led. The second thing for me is the fact that it is a living document that will go on for 5 years. It's not something that we're going to produce and then chuck it in a cupboard. And the reason for that is the third point. It's the action plan, and the action plan will have a major influence on the decision making and spending that the parish council get involved in over the next 5 years. And it does give us influence. I mean, it's not going to be a magic wand, it's not going to solve all our problems, but when it comes to mainstream funding revenues, when it comes to big decisions about expenditure and public finances, the parish plan will be a massive document. So again, publicly I'd like to say thank you to everybody here this evening, and those that aren't, for all their hard work. Right, Janet, over to you, Councillor Sanderson. If you'd like to give her, please, Janet, a warm welcome. Thank you.
I don't want to sing your song.
No, I stole that, and so I sat back.
Yeah, so good evening everybody. I'm Cllr Janet Sanderson, as Phil has said, and I represent the division of Thornton Le Dale and the Wolds on North Yorkshire Council. I'm going to give a North Yorkshire Council perspective of the parish plan eventually, but before I do, and in anticipation of Phil's report, I want to throw some staggering facts and figures from North Yorkshire Council's standards bulletin. Standards being the North Yorkshire Council legal team that deal with complaints against councillors, both parish and county level. So, 304 complaints were received between the 1st of April 2023 to the 28th of February 2025. Of these, only 2 councillors from different parish and town councils were found to have breached the relevant code of conduct. 2 genuine breaches out of 304 reported. The Local Government Association are aware of the increasing volumes of malicious and vexatious complaints aimed at councillors, and I'm going to quote an extract from this recent survey that the LGA did. Officers highlighted the volume of standard complaints that relate to parish and town councils, suggesting that these make up around 2/3 to 3/4 of complaints they receive. Furthermore, they are often of low severity, seen as tit-for-tat complaints, yet still require an investigation. Participants agree that investigations are lengthy and resource-intensive. Legal officers noted that it was a poor use of their time, resource and budget. One participant cited costs of more than £20,000 for a single parish council investigation. Yes, £20,000, one investigation. Just park that for a minute. Recently, the government Rural Service Delivery grant to North Yorkshire Council of £42.2 million a year has been withdrawn without notice. We've lost £14.2 million a year, just like that. We're also awaiting an imminent government spending review, and if rumour changes to reality, as a Shire county, we could also be set to lose more than double this amount in funding. We are strapped for cash, don't get it wrong. We are absolutely on our knees. So I would say to those that are causing this mindless expense to the public purse by pursuing futile, vexatious and malicious complaints, shame on you. And I'm sorry to have to say that. I'm going to move on to something more positive now. I said I was going to talk about the parish plan, and that's what I intended to talk about. And I'd like to reflect on the recently published account of it in the community newsletter, which went out to everybody and I saw. And first of all, I'd like to give a huge thank you to everybody that's been involved in it and worked so hard to put it together. It was good to see a response of 240 residents. This was a lengthy and comprehensive survey, as Mark's already said. So unlike just going to an election and ticking a box, the survey responses had to be undertaken with a considerable amount of thought and time. The parish should have a plan, and I want to see this plan work. That's why I supported it with a grant from my North Yorkshire Council locality budget. There are some really good ideas coming forward throughout the plan. In fact, they're so good that some of the ideas are already in place and have been for several years. So, for example, we have residents parking for the village car park. It's £30 for the whole year. The flood prevention group are working with Yorkshire Water's river health team. We have been given more accurate data on the combined sewer overflow and can assess real-time details on discharges. You know where the CSO is by the bridge there. The team are also in the process of being supplied with ammonia testing kits and training on how to use them. We have a map for the village by the pond, sited where visitors to the area walk from their cars to the village. So those are positives that are already in place that I think really need to be picked up on. The plan asks to create guides for residents to report potholes. North Yorkshire Council, as the Highways Authority, have a very efficient self-reporting mechanism for reporting potholes. It doesn't go through a long bureaucratic process, but straight to the man with the shovel. And you get an audit trail. So you can also report a number of other highways issues such as drains, street lights, and it just puts you, the resident, in control of that. Defects to the public highway are assessed under the Highway Safety Inspection Manual. If a pothole does not fail, if a pothole doesn't fall within that criteria for highways intervention, it will make no difference if one person or 1,000 residents report it. Encouraging to report en masse to highways does have the potential to clog up an already overstretched office. The potholes are inspected by highways once a year. We welcome anything being reported in, and it will go straight to that man with the shovel, so please do report them. There are some important points of clarification that I should mention. For example, North Yorkshire County Council ceased to exist on the 1st of April 2023. Also, the statement that the Parish Plan gives legitimacy and weight to wider and national planning policies. A neighbourhood plan is a legal planning document that has to be taken into account when determining planning applications. It also gives the parish an entitlement to any civil money raised. A parish plan has little, if any, legal weight in planning policy terms, either at local or national level, but it is nonetheless very important to the community, and as Mark says, it will direct services, it will help that. Any plan will have greater chance of being successful if, and where possible, it aligns itself to the plans and strategies of other larger authorities, such as the National Parks, North Yorkshire Council, the Environment Agency, and even Forestry England. This way, it will draw in more support as the bigger fish will see the benefit to themselves of the plan being successful. If we align to their strategies, they will say, wow, we'll work with them because it does us a favour too. It's also helpful if the plan is not too prescriptive. Giving a little wriggle room may be wise, because should an idea fail in one location, it could be successful in another. So for example, if you state you would like to work with the national parks to use the car park as a hub for cyclists, your plan may fail because national parks will be reluctant to lose their income from their cash cow, the car park. Highways have already identified significant issues with cyclists on the surface road to the car park, and there are identified safety issues around mixing vehicles backing in and out of parking slots with cyclists. If, however, in the plan you said that there was an identified need for a cycle hub in the village, it would give you other options should the identified location not be possible. Wriggle room is great. It opens possibilities. Then I'd like to say be careful what you wish for. There are known and unknown consequences to every decision made. A decision is rarely black and white. Inevitably, compromises will have to be made, and so it would be prudent to look at what has been tried in the past. So, for example, we are all aware, as Mark has pointed out, about Pelican Crossing. There's a lot of history here. Changes have been made. Consultations have been brought in at consultants have been brought in at considerable expense to see how the junction might be improved. Resident suggestions have been worked up and still will be if we can find a solution to this problem without creating another problem. No one wants to reinvent the wheel, so past history is really important here. Highways did come up with two possible solutions which would be acceptable to them, but I suspect not the residents of Thornton Le Dale. So these solutions were: move the Pelican to the village hall area where there is a clear line of sight. Would anyone use that or cross on it? The other suggestion was if residents felt that the crossing was not safe, they could remove the Pelican altogether. Incidentally, it is the pedestrian's personal responsibility to ensure that the road is safe to cross before attempting to do so, even on a Pelican crossing point. I would also like to caution about giving directions about what a property owner should or should not do within their own property. For example, there are some great ideas about management of the beck. I think we all think this is a great idea. Historically, the beck was maintained by the River Authority. Then some maintenance was undertaken by the village caretaker and later by the Thornton Beck Group, which is no longer in existence, sadly. As the beck is classified as a main river by the Environment Agency, the EA are now the responsible authority and, along with riparian owners, have a duty to maintain their own stretch of the watercourse. The topic of riparian ownership is a difficult concept for residents to get their heads around. It's really hard to believe, but any resident whose property abuts the beck, despite the beck being on the other side of that property's boundary, is considered to be a riparian owner with riparian responsibilities. At the flood prevention exhibition recently in Sneinton last month, many residents didn't actually know they were riparian owners with responsibility. It doesn't even have to be a beck or a main river. It can be a ditch, a drain, or even a simple water pipe, and you are instantly a riparian owner. I've worked with many parish councils to improve the water quality of courses, but this has to be done with the permission of the riparian owners. Some residents like their stretch of water wild and weedy, others don't. A strong directive in the plan may cause issues for some riparian owners. The Environment Agency have strict regulations for the beck, and as the Thornton Beck Group discovered, it is vital that everyone working in the beck is aware of these regulations, because infringement can lead to prosecution. Again, this demonstrates the need for the plan to align with the policies and strategies of other authorities if it's to succeed. And it will, I'm sure. I know that residents were happy with the amount of holiday cottages and second homes, thinking that 10% was about right. This is another area over which a plan would have absolutely no control, as we can't prevent people from buying homes for this activity. However, what is happening at North Yorkshire Council is that second home owners are now being charged 100% second home council tax premium. This money, unlike other authorities that have just put it into their budget, North Yorkshire Council are ring-fencing this money to provide affordable homes and other incentives for those who are unable to get a foot in the housing market ladder that live locally. So I think it's a really, really positive thing. And finally, I want to highlight some asks that are really relatively easy winners. So Mark, you talked about the VAS signs, those signs that flash on to say do 30. We can't have happy faces, we can only have ones with the you're above the speed limit. There's certain criteria. So the Parish Council were offered these some years ago. It's a complex issue in itself, in that if you have too many of these flashing signs, you ignore them. Drivers ignore them. So what happens is they're best moved around the village. So Thornton Le Dale were asked to share with Alliston and Everston. They didn't want to. We raised the money, we bought some, and Alliston, Everston and Wilton shared, and you'll see those lights flashing around. So they're stronger if they're shared between the villages. Community Speed Watch. I've got several villages that do the Community Speed Watch. Alliston, Warham. There's one or two groups, and I'm sure they would help groups of residents that want to do a Community Speed Watch. Parking enforcement around the schools. This is a really tricky one, but we do push. It's the school's issue. The problem, I've got to say, is generally with parents, and actually if children come up with creative ideas like drawing things or you're endangering my safety, then generally parents do take notice of it. Dog waste bins, you can have them for the asking. National parks already have I'll have to read this really carefully, Conservation Area Character Appraisal and Management Plan, specific to the village of Thornton Le Dale. So this could easily be extended, if the work's being done for you, it could easily be extended to the whole of the village, those parts of the village that are not actually in the national parks. And also, what I picked up, Mark, from what you said about the youth groups. I'm a trustee for North Yorkshire Youth, and we help communities set up youth groups. We won't run them for you, but if you've got a group of people that say, we'd like a youth group in the village and we've got someone that will help do it, they'll do all the data checks and help you set it up. They've got a plan, a template, that's there, and they will help you with it, and it's easy. I can set that up for you. So this is a really positive project which shows that the community really cares about sensitively moving the village forward, mindful of its heritage and the needs to bring residents with it. As a living document, the hard work done now will surely pay off in the future. And I think just a living document could also be a rolling document. If you updated it, say, every 2 years, you'd roll it over, and the work and the surveys that have been done would just roll over for probably 20 years and not 5 years, because you would just keep that rolling plan going. So finally, I want to say again, Mark, a really big thank you to you and all those that have helped. I think it's a tremendous turnout, and thank you very much.
Okay, the annual report of Thornton Le Dale Parish Council. For those of you that know me, I do tend to witter on a little bit, so I make absolutely no apology, because like you here this evening, I care quite passionately about our community. I didn't envisage just how hard being on the parish council was going to be, and I'm sure my colleagues would echo those sentiments. But I have prepared an annual report, and I'll walk you through the past year as best as I can. It's 10 to 8 now. I'm probably only going to need about an hour and a half. So, I'm only kidding. Okay, right. Thornton Le Dale Parish Council Annual Report of 2025. Sorry, John, you've crept in. Sorry, I didn't see you there. I would have highlighted you otherwise. Okay, our last annual parish meeting was held on the 23rd of May 2024, where I stood in this very spot here and made a commitment to you, the community, that we would represent this parish to the best of our abilities, we would listen to what you had to say, and we were going to make things better. What did we mean by going to make things better? Well, we had the sole intention of a better parish council in the way that they were performing and in the way of local governance. We were going to deliver services in a better way. We were going to keep our natural environment in the parish better maintained, and we were going to build a better plan for the future. So it would come as no surprise to me if you say, Phil, what have you done then in the last 12 months? Well, those that keep a keen interest and follow the parish council, hopefully you will recognise that in the last 12 months we've been functioning quite well. We don't always tend to agree on our decision making, Christmas cards, but I think that's quite healthy to have members of a parish council that don't always agree. But I hope you do recognise that we are working well in the best interests for the parish. So the year started, we still had some inherited problems that were causing us some difficulties in overcoming. And you may recall the last annual parish meeting, parish council report, predominantly was me talking about all the difficulties that we were experiencing. The last 12 months, however, I'm pleased to report we have made some real positive progress. We've still got one or two minor problems to overcome, but the overriding factor from a personal point of view is the amount of encouraging, positive support that we as a parish council have received from a number of different sources, be it parish council meetings. We've had people contacting us on social media, local groups, partners, other parish councils have been in contact. I had an email from a parish council chairman in Aberdeenshire quite recently, who's following us on the social media platform. Local authorities, auditors, all these people have given us positive feedback, which I'm going to refer to in my report. So, if I could just start by thanking everybody that has supported us as a parish council in the last 12 months. And I'm going to start on a positive note. You, the parishioners of Thornton Le Dale, have had a fully functioning parish council for the entire last 12 months. So, thank you very much. I'm going to walk you through the calendar 24-25. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't think that's really necessary, but I have given it a bit of thought and reviewed the year, and I've pulled out the pertinent points. And I'm going to start on the 28th of May 2024. You're all aware that this parish council is involved in an employment tribunal court case, and on that date was the first hearing of that court case, and in true British justice style, it was adjourned. And it was adjourned for legal process, and we weren't likely to hear anything for a number of months. Then in June, we received at a parish council meeting some rather positive news, in that the working group that the parish council set up to raise fundraising in order for the parish clock to be repaired had done the duck race, and that's thank you to everybody involved in the duck race. That did happen last year, but over £3,000, and subsequently that money was used to repair the parish clock. And at the time that was a big positive thing. Well, I understand it might not be working again, but I'm going to look to John. That's an electrical fault, isn't it, John? Is it working?
It's working.
It's working.
It's not right, but it's working.
July 2024 was the inaugural meeting of the Parish Plan working group, and there was a lot of hesitation and anxiety about the future journey. But again, I'd just like to echo my thanks to Mark Calvert, who did grab the bull by the horns and offered his services to lead that group. He was obviously supported by local residents, so again, a big thank you to everybody involved. You might have been at the public consultations, you might have completed the community survey, big piece of work online. And I can assure you that behind the scenes a lot of work went into reviewing the results and that sort of thing. And part of the community survey, I was quite pleased to read a lot of positive comments that residents in this parish wrote about the parish council. And I've got a list of them here, which I won't go through, but thank you to everybody who took the time and trouble to write something nice about what we, the parish council, were doing. So that was good to see. So positive feedback indeed from residents and local people. July 2024, we saw a vacancy on the parish council that was filled by June Goodson-Moore. She came and joined the team. She got the position on the parish council uncontested. You may recall also in July we had a general election, but it didn't affect us too much. 17th of July 2024, we had a big report land on the clerk's desk, and it was the external auditor's financial report for the year 2022-2023. That was the external investigation into the financial conduct and governance of the previous parish council. You may recall that 4 challenges were made to that particular AGAR. The report did highlight some critical flaws in what was happening, and it identified some failings in both financial management and legal process of how the parish council was conducting itself. But I don't wish to dwell over it too much. But the implications for this parish council were quite serious, not so much in terms of reputation, etc., but also the financial costs to the public purse, which was £10,700 it cost the parish council. So quite a significant amount of money, and of course a significant amount of money which we had to take out of your public person finance. The external auditors did, however, recognise that the current parish council were making some improvements, both to financial regulation and some improvements to procedural dealings. So that in itself was also quite some positive feedback from the external auditors for this parish council. 30th of July, we had residents exercise their legal public rights to come and inspect all of our accounts and paperwork and such like. They did that, which quite entitled to do, and afterwards they weren't happy with what they saw and they raised 21 objections to our 2023-2024 AGAR submission. That clearly caused quite significant concern and anxiety, not least to the parish council, but also to our clerk, who is also our responsible financial officer, given that 4 objections cost the parish council nearly £11,000. How much is 21 objections going to cost to investigate? So quite some difficult times for us. Not only the cost implication, but also one of the objectors previously publicly mentioned that the sole intention was to cause the parish council financial damage. And we had to prepare for the worst. Now, we weren't going to find out what the implications of these objections were for another 8 months. So I'll keep you in suspense and I'll come on to it in April. But back to September 2024, the Employment Tribunal court case did go back to court, Leeds Employment Tribunal Court, and well, it was adjourned again. Yeah. However, the trial judge did recognise the difficulties that the parish council were experiencing. We still didn't have all of our property back. We still didn't have our burial records, etc., etc. I won't go into too much detail because I did that last year. But what happened was the trial judge made some particular comments to the claimants that she was taking appropriate legal action to resolve her dispute with the parish council, and she was ordered therefore to return all of the property belonging to the parish council. So back in September 2024, without having it for a significant length of time, we got it all back, which was great news. October 2024, the majority of time was spent going through all the stuff that we just got back because it was so out of date and hadn't seen the day of light for months and months and months. And the focus really was on the burial records, the cemetery, etc., etc. And that was a lot of work. Moving on to the 7th of November 2024, Councillor Sanderson has mentioned 300 and something formal complaints against parish councillors, and only 2 went to misconduct hearings. I'm sad to report that Thornton Le Dale Parish Council was one of the 2. And Councillor Marguerite Markham attended a misconduct hearing following a complaint that was made against her in November 2023 of breaching the Code of Conduct. And after a full day misconduct hearing, again, it was upheld. So Councillor Markham was unfortunately one of the 2 councillors to have been found guilty of breaching the conduct code, which is not great for a parish council, indeed not great for the individual. However, moving on to more positive things, later in November we launched the community survey, and I won't go over what we've already discussed, but the community survey was a great success, and it certainly gave Mark Calvert and the team lots of work to do. And later in November 2024, the parish clock was indeed repaired by the engineers, after being ineffective for quite some time, but the whole idea of it being repaired at the expense of local people, raising local funds, was just fantastic. December 2024, well, you may remember, was dominated by poor weather, and just reflect upon the Christmas lights switch on was not a complete disaster, but a lot of good hard work by a lot of people saw the event continuing on. But it's an appropriate time to recognise the work undertaken by the Forest and Dale Community Flood Group. And Councillor Green has been involved in that from the outset, and through local consultation and partnership working, hopefully that the work that's been undertaken and the money that's been spent will alleviate any future winter weather concerns, and I'm sure you're 100% confident it will, David. Yeah. But from a parish council, it's great to have Councillor Green on that flood group. So then in January of 2025, really we just started preparing ourselves to welcome our contractors for a second year of their contracts with the parish council. You're probably aware we have 3 contracts in existence. One is for cutting the grass verges within the village. One is for cutting the grass up at the cemetery, and the third is the cemetery and the closed churchyard, and the third contract is for a caretaker. The parish council at the end of year 1 were extremely pleased with the way that those contracts were being undertaken, and the contractors themselves are giving a really good service, great value for money, and indeed we look forward to working with them in year 2. And you might have already seen the grass cutting and the caretaker out in the village. So a big thank you to all of those for their efforts. Having these contracts in place and having good, reliable contractors getting on with the work really allows the parish council to focus on the important things, such as grit bins and dog waste bins and risk assessments, policy amendments and water butts. But you know, we do the best that we can. So 25th and 26th of March this year, quite significant, because the Employment Tribunal is back in court. Judge Shulman is sat there waiting for us, and indeed the tribunal went ahead. And it went ahead over 2 days. The claimant, Miss Pillow, and her witnesses presented her case against the parish council, I hasten to add, and His Honour Judge Shulman is still contemplating his judgment. So after the 2-day employment tribunal, we adjourned again, and the current position is I can't talk about the case because it would be sub judice, and we are still waiting for a judgment. But as soon as we get that judgment from Judge Shulman, then Parish Council will report the situation. It is expected in the next few months. Take from that what you will. Later, March 2025, and we're nearly there, we're nearly up to May, so hang in there. We, as a parish council, received our interim internal audit report. A lady called Rachel Pearson. It's a standard practice. Parish council resolved to have an interim internal audit report, and I would just really like to read out an extract from the report, if you would indulge me, because despite the performance and governance of this parish council attracting negative attention, and a lot of that negative attention is focused on financial dealings, this interim report has made some very specific points which I think residents and parishioners should be aware of. So, local councils in England must complete an annual governance and accountability return, which includes an annual governance statement, accounting statements, and an annual internal audit report. Internal audit is a key component of the council's system of internal control. The purpose of an internal audit is to review and report to the council whether its systems of financial and other internal controls and procedures are effective. I have reviewed a wide range of documentation, including documentation provided by the clerk and responsible financial officer, as well as the parish council website. Our primary contact has been Ms Jenny Collins, who is the clerk and responsible financial officer for Thornton Le Dale Parish Council. Jenny has been open and clear with regards any queries I have made. She has been thorough and knowledgeable when met with queries. The council had a period of upheaval in a prior period. However, I have noted an improvement in record keeping year on year. So I just publicly like to thank Jenny for all her work in turning around our financial situation. The work that Jenny's done not only on the finances but Scribe as well has been incredible. And you can go on to the Parish Council website, you can have a look at reconciled, scribed accounting sheets any day of the week, and they're all on there. So to receive such positive feedback from an internal auditor is incredible. So thank you, Jenny. 16th of April, nearly there, 16th of April, we got the report from the challenge to our 23-24 AGAR. Now you might recall that there are 21 objections raised, 4 cost us 10 grand, now we're looking at 21. So after a very lengthy and expensive external investigation of the Parish Council's accounting and management processes, the external auditor, who are PKF Little John, in case you wanted to know, declared that none of the 21 objections that were made would be accepted by the external auditors. Well, you can imagine me jumping on the desk and dancing a little jig, and I'm sure Jenny did. So I think it's testament really again to the responsible financial officer and the work that Jenny put into that 23-24 AGAR to have 21 objections reviewed and investigated and not upheld is fantastic. Positive feedback indeed now from an external auditor, so that's great. And I think it's important that the residents understand the benefits of not having to pay costs or fines through poor financial dealings. Legally, we've got to show due diligence with public spending, of course we have. Nobody's perfect, we get things wrong, of course we do. But to have 21 objections to the year's financial dealings and have none upheld is just fantastic. And it means that the money will stay in the public purse and we can spend it on services that you all deserve. So, April, nearly there, April 25, Parish Plan Working Group, you got your newsletters and you've had your Parish Plan update. And then that brings us nicely on to May the 4th, wasn't it? VE Community Day at the Village Hall. Sadly, I couldn't have been there myself, but a fantastic community event, and I think just demonstrates how well things can go when people work together. And again, public thanks to everybody that was involved in that. I did pump out an email of thanks and a certificate from the London-based organisers, but I just wanted to make a note of that in my report. So, that is the calendar. I'm just going to finish now with 3 minutes. We hold on for 3 minutes. I've tried to portray, I said at the beginning, we have made some positive progress, and of course we have, and I've tried to portray that in the report. I think it's important that we all, of course, recognise that for reasons only known to themselves, there are members of this parish that seek to disrupt the legitimate business of effectively your parish council. The tactics that we've experienced in the last 12 months include making formal complaints against members of the parish council, or they have initiated expensive courses of actions with external agencies that really have been found to be unfounded. Now, I don't mind telling you that in the last 12 months, I have been subject to 3 formal internal investigations with a monitoring officer for being accused of 16 alleged breaches of the Code of Conduct. 16. I wish at the time. Out of those 3 formal complaints and 16 alleged breaches of misconduct, clearly I have been investigated by the monitoring officer for quite a number of months. But I take enormous encouragement, having been investigated by North Yorkshire Council Monitoring Office, that none of those complaints have been upheld. Now, that doesn't mean that I've got to sit at home for hours writing a response, because I do. Excuse me. I've got quite good at writing responses to complaints, but to have none upheld, I find very encouraging, and again, positive feedback indeed from North Yorkshire Council. And I would like to publicly thank the monitoring officer and her team, and North Yorkshire Council for all their personal support that they've given to me. I can only talk about me, I can't talk for others, but I can assure you that there are people in this community quite busy writing emails of complaint. And I've got a message to those people who throughout the year have sought to damage our wonderful community by undertaking such courses of action. Really, they're aimed at discrediting the competency of this parish council. I think they're aimed at discrediting the legitimate business of this parish council. And I think these complaints are aimed at diverting public money. Public money, time and effort from everybody on the parish council. And my message to them is, you have failed. And you will continue to fail, because I and the parish council are absolutely resolved to making things better in this parish, and we will continue to do so. So what we're going to do in the forthcoming year? Well, I think holiday is probably on the cards. In summary, we found out through the parish plan what you, the community, want. We've undertaken a lot of community and public consultation, and the driving force will be the parish plan. We intend to get on with the business of parish council. I am quite looking forward to the parish council meetings being boring, and my objective is to have one every 2 months, because that would be great, but we're not quite there yet. We'll continue to commit to representing the parish and to listen to what you good people have to say, and of course we'll be diligent with the spending of money. But, oh, thank you very much, yeah, thank you. Oh, you are still awake, brilliant. I'd just like to finish now, and I'm going to leave you with one of my favourite quotes. In a previous life, I would mention an American author and writer called Marguerite Wheatley. And Marguerite Wheatley is quoted to say this: "There is no greater power for change than a community discovering what it cares about the most." And I think we're getting there. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now it's 8:15. I think the pub might be closing soon, but you will notice on the agenda there's a Q&A session for the parish council. Now, I will do my utmost to answer any of your questions. There might be some questions that I cannot answer, but let me assure you I'll go back and I'll do what we can to find out the answer. And if it's something that we feel that we can progress with the parish council, then I'll take it back and we'll add it to the agenda. Or if it's just a general question, feel free to ask. So, Terry.
Do you know they voted you in to be chair for next year?
I didn't know that. No, when did that happen? Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
So, not a question, but can I, and certainly on my behalf, but I'm sure everybody else in the room, say
Thank you.
thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Biscuit, don't you?
I didn't. Which tea is fun?
Pauline, yeah.
Is there a contact email for the Parish Plan Committee or our communications via
You did,
the
yeah, sorry.
Parish Council?
Yeah, so the Parish Plan Working Group did have an email. Is it still functioning, Mark?
It does, it's tleparish.gmail.com.
Was it on the newsletter?
I think it was.
Yeah, we'll try that. TLD. What was it, Mark?
I think it was tleparish.gmail.com.
Pauline, if that doesn't turn out to be the case, let me know and I'll find it for you.
Parish Plan.
All the TLD capital letters on English.
Did anybody have cause to email the Parish Plan Working Group?
If I asked Jenny to put it on the Parish Council website with the...
Thank you, that's a good point because the work isn't finished with the Parish Plan. As Mark suggested, we're looking to get it adopted around about the July time, but we might have to make some changes. The working group will make the changes and then Parish Council will look through it and then adopt it. And, any other questions?
But on the parish plan, it's worth saying it's not too late to join the working group. I mean, there's still a lot of work to do, so if you want to get involved, get involved.
That was one of my questions because from one of the consultation events we learned that you'd lost a number of your women.
So we lost a number of
And I
people,
just
including
wondered.
women. We did, for various
I
reasons.
just wondered if that balance being...
We have women on the group. Yes, yes, we do. We have a proportionate representation, of course. Yes, we do. But it's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah, Denise is on the group. Yes, Graham.
You've got a councillor that's been found out to be discredited, and that councillor is still on the council. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, yeah. That is correct. So I can mention it now because it was a public misconduct hearing. Haven't mentioned it at parish council meetings because I've never been asked about it, and Councillor Markham hasn't chosen to raise it herself. But I feel that it's relevant in the annual report, so that you know, transparency really. Yeah. Yes.
Could I just add to that? Because it's a sort of catch-22 situation. Only the ballot box can take out an elected councillor. So Marguerite was, she stood unopposed, so she was elected because nobody stood against her. Only you, the electorate, can vote against her, but because nobody stands, you don't get anybody to fill that place. So it's really back to the community. It's back to you. But it's why I said the Local Government Association and the government know that there are issues here and that there's absolutely nothing they can do about it unless the law is broken in a very bad way. So it's up to the ballot box. And that goes for me and it goes to the parish councillors.
And you may also notice that the misconduct hearing was November 2024, but the complaint was submitted in November 2023. To the monitoring officer who reviewed the complaints that was made on behalf of the parish council, and that complaint was upheld and it was referred for formal investigation by an employment barrister.
It goes to the Standards Committee.
The Standards Committee, yeah, and it was investigated for a number of months by an employment barrister who made further recommendations that it should proceed to misconduct hearing. Okay, any other questions? Otherwise, it's 8:20. No, thank you. I thank you all again for coming. You are very welcome to stop for a cup of tea or a coffee, a piece of cake, a biscuit. But otherwise, thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.